I know, you've built hundreds of PCs, walking up a hill backwards with one shoe on, eating a talking banana. If so, this video isn't for you or them
lying ass bananas.
Today, we're gonna talk about that brand new PC you just put together and why it won't turn on. So somehow in the midst of one of the wildest times in tech PC parts buying that we've ever seen, you were able to assemble a group of parts to put together and build your own PC. You did it, you watched some YouTube videos, and you go up to hit that power button and nothing happens. Do not worry. It has happened to all of us, whether it's your first PC build or you've built hundreds of them. Now today's video is going to be assuming that all the parts that you have are actually compatible. That means that you can't have an AMD CPU trying to put it in a Intel motherboard. You can always check a site like PC Part Picker. Just go in there, put in all of your parts, and it will give you any compatibility errors. Also, if you're looking for a specific issue to a problem that you're having, make sure you use the chapters down below. You can skip ahead. And if you're an expert who doesn't need any of this, maybe consider sharing this with a friend or someone in the future who's having some issues when they're putting together their PC. Hey, it even happens to me. There are very few worse feelings than getting all of the parts you think put together properly, then you go to press that button and nothing happens. The first thing that you want to do if you're getting no power on your PC is checking the switch on your power supply. Most of the PSUs that you buy to put into your PC have an on-off switch. It's a pretty easy fix, but it also is pretty easy to forget. I is for on, O is for off. Boom, now you have power to the rest of your system. And if that's all your issue is, you should be good to go. Now this next one is another simple fix. You go to press the power button, you see fans spinning, things starting to turn on, but you're getting no signal on your monitor. First and foremost, you want to check sure that your monitor is on. Secondly, you want to make sure that your monitor is plugged into the right thing to get an output. Now, if you're building a PC with a CPU that has its own internal graphics, on Intel, it's called the iGPU. On AMD, it's called the APU. But if you don't have one of those CPUs, then you want to make sure that your monitor is plugged into your GPU. Now again, while this may seem simple, this can prevent you from getting the output and making you think there's something wrong with your PC. If you use one of the options on your graphics card, whether it's DisplayPort, HDMI, or you have an older GPU that still uses like DVI or VGA, then you should get a signal, and from there, you're good to go. All right, now going from here, you can go in a variety of different directions and you can even combine these different steps. But here's what I would do if I was troubleshooting a system that wouldn't start. First, you want to make sure that your cables are connected properly. And I will start with the main two. First, I would start with your 4 or 8 pin CPU power cable and your 20 or 24 pin motherboard cable. Now, honestly, these two cables should easily snap in, but they can be finicky depending on the type of power supply, cables you're using, if you're using cable extensions or anything like that. So always just double check those to make sure that they're plugged in properly. Now, another set of cables that I would check is your front panel power switch. Now, unless you're using a really high-end motherboard, it probably doesn't have a built-in dedicated power switch. Also, you don't want to use that when you have to turn your computer on and off every time. You want to make sure that you can use the big, easily accessible button on the front panel of your PC. That's why you want to make sure you have your front panel connectors wired properly. These can be some of the most finicky cables to install, especially if you're someone like me with big hands, but take the time, read the manual to make sure that they're properly installed so you can get proper use of your power button. Ooh, look at the pretty lights. Now for this next one, pardon my voiceover, but you want to try reseating your RAM and or GPU. You want to match the notch up and slide it in till you hear the click to know it's installed properly. Same with the GPU. There's a lock in the back, and if it's pushed properly into a slot, you should hear it click. Also, if your GPU needs power from the PSU, you want to make sure the cables are pushed in flush. Now let's say you've made sure all the wires are connected properly and everything is reseated fully and you still get no power. Now I would check my power supply, and that depends on what type of power supply it is. If you have a modular or semi-modular power supply, I would make sure that all the cables are pushed into that properly. Now, if your power supply isn't modular at all, then you can move on to the next step. Now this isn't necessarily the last fix, but I would make sure I checked all the other steps prior to doing this, and that's reseating your CPU. Now here is where you should definitely be more than careful, as you do not want to damage your CPU in any way. Now first, I would remove the cooler, then safely remove the CPU, making sure we didn't damage any pins and that we had it seated in the proper direction. You also want to take this time to check if any pins are bent. If you're on an Intel CPU, all the pins will be on the motherboard. If you're using the AMD Ryzen chip, all the pins will be on the CPU. But this is a great time to make sure that no pins are bent, because that can keep your PC from functioning properly. Now, if you've completed all of these steps and your PC is still not working, your best bet is probably to pick it up and toss it out the window.
What? What the f?
Don't do that. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Again, at this point, we're assuming that all of your parts are fully functional and they're compatible. But if you do have access to spare parts, I would try swapping them in and out to see if something happens. I would start with your power supply, then your RAM, your GPU, your CPU, then your motherboard. I found that PC parts generally just do not die that easily, but if they do, it can stop your whole system from functioning and keep you from getting your game on. All right, folks, hopefully these tips can help get your new PC up and running before you go harassing the designated family tech support guy or spending money to have somebody come and flip your power switch. If you need further help, I'll leave links down below in the description to some of the forums and places that I've used for troubleshooting in the past. Also, you can leave a comment. I'm really proud of the community that we've built here at DVZN Media. I've seen more than a few people help each other out in the comments before I could even get to them. I know there could be a lot of toxicity in the PC gaming community, but honestly, when y'all do that and help each other out in those comments, man, it makes me feel so good. Also, before I go, if you have any other tips or tricks, please leave them down below in the comments, not just for me, but anyone who may be watching. It's your kinfolk Dookie. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and never forget to holla at your boy.